Very good. Thank you, Clerk. Thanks, Shelby. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And remain standing for an invocation led by Alder Dorf, but I believe she's going to hand it off to a guest.
Yeah, I will introduce my guest. Is this working?
Sorry.
All right. Yes, tonight our invocation will be led by Father James Nilsson. Father Nilsson is a Catholic priest and a professor of art at St. Norbert College. He was my daughter's advisor in college and is one of my favorite people on this planet. He's also served on the faculty at Catholic Theological Union in Chicago. Father Nilsson has studied art at the School of Art Institute in Chicago, Notre Dame University, and the Vermont Studio Center, where he earned an MFA in three-dimensional mixed media sculpture. He lectures across the country on topics related to art and spirituality. Father Nilsson was artist in residence at Luther College, Decorah, Iowa, and was a visiting lecturer at Barry University in Miami, Florida. His own artwork has been on view at the Neville Public Museum, where he took first place and Best in Show awards at the 62nd Art Annual Exhibition and the first place award at the 66th Annual Art Exhibition. His work was most recently on view at the Wieck Gallery in Chicago. Father Nilsson has taught at the Peninsula School of Art at Fish Creek, Wisconsin, and the Green Bay Correctional Institute. He also volunteers at the Age and Disability Resource Center in Green Bay. I am so pleased that he is with us tonight to offer the invocation at this meeting. Father Nilsson.
Thank you so much, Barbara. Good evening, everyone. Let's settle our hearts for a moment of prayer. God of justice and mercy, thank you for the gift of life and the opportunity to serve the people of our city. Help us to act with character and conviction. Help us to listen with understanding and goodwill. Help us to speak with charity and restraint. Give us a spirit of service. Remind us that we are stewards of your authority. Guide us to be the leaders your people need. Help us see the dignity and humanity of those who disagree with us, and to treat all persons, no matter how weak or poor, with the reverence your creation deserves. And finally, Almighty and loving God, renew us with the strength of your presence and the joy of helping to build a community worthy of the human person. We ask this as your sons and daughters, confident in your goodness and love. Amen. Thank you, one and all, for your service to the people of Green Bay. God bless.
Thank you, Father.
Thank you, Alder. All right, on to the minutes. Motion to approve the minutes of the June 1st, 2021 Common Council meeting offered by Alder Scannell, seconded by Alder Lefebvre. Any changes there? Seeing none, all in favor will signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. The minutes have been approved. Approval of the agenda.
To approve. Second.
Motion to approve the agenda made by Alder Scannell, seconded by Alder Corpus Dax. Any changes here? Seeing no requests, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The agenda has been approved. Report by the mayor. Just a few items here, a couple on the agenda, and then a couple public events coming up. Just wanted to note for the public and council, who's well aware, obviously, a big development moving forward, hopefully tonight with your support. Over the old Associated Bank parking lot, as it's affectionately known. Wanted to thank a previous council and previous mayor, Jim Schmidt, for having the wisdom and recognizing that high priority parcel and acquiring it for the city of Green Bay. I think we have in front of us a pretty exciting project that checks a lot of boxes for Alder Scannell's district and for our downtown, for our community at large. 172 units of housing here in the Associated Bank parking lot, and then on the ground floor, a grocery store, full-service grocery store, the main Oriental Market, kind of moving across the street and really expanding and advancing, thanks to Tara Yang and her leadership as kind of the second-generation owner there. So very exciting piece of the puzzle for us, as well as hopefully a space for UWGB also on that ground floor. They are very interested in locating downtown, especially some of their programming with respect to continuing education and their Center for Civic Engagement. So asking for your support on that project. I believe the Alder's very supportive. I know many others are as well in this community. So looking forward to the approval of that project later tonight. Also, a little bit of a smaller item, but I think something that's sort of cool for our city. Hopefully going to be able to have scooters potentially as soon as this weekend if the MOU and the ordinance is approved this evening. So I want to thank Alder Johnson for kind of putting this on the agenda way back. We've been thinking and talking about this for some time. City of Appleton offered a little bit of a unique model in developing a pilot project and an MOU, and so that's the direction that we've gone, recognizing that might be a way to get this off the ground a little bit more quickly. So I know things went smoothly at INS. Again, hoping that we'll be able to move forward there. If anybody has any questions about my scootering abilities, don't talk to Alder Johnson. He might have a story for you. And then a couple of events that I wanted to highlight. Obviously, 4th of July is coming up here. We are super excited to have fireworks downtown Green Bay, as well as some food trucks and some other beverages available for our residents. So I want to thank Alder Johnson with his other hat as Executive Director of On Broadway, and his team. Allie Tutt has done a great job in organizing things for them. And so encouraging everyone to get out and enjoy the fireworks. As I said, super excited to have that back in downtown Green Bay. And then finally, we do have the State of the City, which is coming up 2 weeks, I believe, from this evening. We're having it out at the Botanical Garden at 6:30. So encouraging all of council to go out there. It's a great facility, really beautiful gardens that they have out there. And so encouraging everyone from the community to come out and enjoy some live music and live art and maybe listen to a speech as well. So with that, I will conclude the report and move along to announcements from our council. Any announcements? Alder Lefebvre.
This is really a pet peeve that I have. I don't know if people hate green or they hate their lawns, grass. I mean, I drive all over, and this is also, the city itself does this. Why do they scalp your lawns? It's not healthy for your lawn. They almost burnt out with the drought that we have. We haven't rain now. Please let your lawns grow a little longer. It's healthy for them. It's healthy for the environment. And I do have I'm going to put a communication in for parks on this too. Thank you.
Thanks, Alder. Other announcements? Alder Johnson. Sorry. Oop, I could do this too.
It's actually not on the agenda.
You have to unmute, right, on Zoom too? No. Okay, so this works?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Good.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to give a shout out to Community and Economic Development, Wendy Townsend in particular, but I know also working with Matt Buchanan, I know David Buck was there, Aaron Rosnick, but we did business climate surveys today with a number of businesses in the community, and I know Alder Scannell, Alder Gerlach were there. I don't know if I'm missing anybody. If I am, please forgive me, but it was a really great experience and opportunity to be able to go and talk to some businesses in our community, understand what it's like to do business in the city of Green Bay, and that data will be aggregated and used in a variety of ways, but just want to give a shout out to the staff, Wendy in particular, that were in charge of that. And also, Mayor, it's a little unfair to leave people dangle on the scooter comment. So, but I will say, I will verify that the scooters, in fact, do shut off when you leave the geofenced area. So we
Right.
do not recommend.
Right, state lines as well.
State lines, yes.
Yes. Alder Dorf.
Thank you, Mayor. So I offer this as a public service announcement in the kindest, most non-judgmental way possible. So please, all of you, take it that way. It's something I've been wanting to say, and so I want to say this. As we return to in-person meetings and open the doors of City Hall to the public, I would like to remind staff and elected and appointed officials and visitors that here in City Hall, there's a policy that if one has not been vaccinated, one needs to wear a mask. I want the public, as well as our city employees, to know this is a safe place for them to come. Sometimes I feel like everything's back to the way it used to be, and I have to remind myself that it is not. We are not through the pandemic yet. We're closer to the end, I hope, but the new variants, especially the Delta variant, are still a cause for concern. Each day, as more of us are vaccinated, the threat of contracting COVID lessens, and then our policy can be changed. Thank you.
Thanks, Alder. Other announcement, Alder Scannell.
Why does mine do that?
gentle.
Thank you. I'd also like to piggyback on what Alder Johnson was saying and thank staff for today. It was really good. But I wanted to add that talking with a lot of businesses, I think it's good to note that most of the businesses were pretty positive and are coming out of the pandemic pretty good. A lot of P's in there. And which was really great to hear. You know, it was really great to make contact with a lot of the businesses and see that things are looking up and up. So let's go. Let's keep going. Thanks.
Absolutely. Thanks, Alder. And Alder Johnson and Alder Gerlach for participating, and staff for running the show there. Alder Stoyer.
It's Moody.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'd like to just give a little bit of a shout out for an event that we had last Saturday at the Premiere on North Broadway. Alder Johnson, Alder Scannell, and myself were there. And it was 25 years of indigenous art with the Oneida Tribe and their high school. And a lot of alumni came back, people from all over the country. And it was just a really well-intended event, and it was nice to be there. So,
Absolutely. I believe Chairman Hill was also there for the event. So thanks, Alder. Any others? All right, seeing none, we will move along to a pretty special item tonight under recognitions and awards. In recognition of an heroic act by Jerry Bruley, electrical foreperson in the Department of Public Works. Mr. Bruley has been an employee since June 29, 2015. I think, you know, those of us who have been with the city are used to recognizing city employees for some extraordinary acts of heroism, but normally this is in the line of duty, especially for our first responders, our police and fire, and also DPW. But in this instance, this was something that was done on private time, something that Mr. Bruley did to save another life. So with that, I want to pass things along to Director Grenier, who has a few more comments, and then if Jerry has anything to say, we'd love to hear from him. So Director Grenier.
Absolutely, Mayor, thanks. On a recent vacation when Jerry was down in Gulf Shores, Alabama, with his family, there was a group of citizens on the shoreline that noticed there was an individual out in the water who was struggling. He was about 100 yards from shore. So while one individual in the group went to get a lifeguard or some assistance, Jerry's instincts took over and he went out into the water to help render assistance to this individual. And it turned out that there was a riptide condition. Jerry was able to reach the individual, take him under tow, and safely bring him back to shore before any other emergency personnel were able to get there. And after making sure that the individual was okay and recovering well and, you know, getting past this pretty major scare that he had, the individual did look at Jerry and tell him that, you know, I was a little worried. I thought this was the end, and I was just about ready to give up until you showed up. So for those of us who work with Jerry on a regular basis, this is not something that's out of character. This is the kind of selfless act and heroism that we see out of Jerry on a daily basis. Jerry's been with us for, you know, about 6 years, well, I guess 6 years today. And he's one of the model employees. This is the kind of people that we want to have as not only a part of DPW, but also representing the city. And Jerry is with us tonight here by Zoom. I did offer up to the mayor. I thought this was a pretty special act that he had done, and was definitely worthy of recognition on behalf of the city, behalf of the council. And I just wanted to also extend my personal appreciation to Jerry, not only for the act that he did in saving somebody's life, but for the effort that he puts forth every day working in the electrical section.
Absolutely. Really well said, Director Grenier, and thanks so much for bringing this to our attention. Really glad to be able to recognize Jerry tonight. Any words for us, Jerry? And you are muted, unfortunately. There we go.
Okay, let's hear. Now I think I'm good.
Yep, perfect.
Well, I think I nearly gave my wife a heart attack during the incidents. To be honest with you, I don't remember a whole lot about it. There was just a lot of adrenaline going on when it happened, and I look back at it now, and I don't know that. I think I did the right thing, but I also think about what could have happened and how it could have affected our family as well. But hindsight's 2020, and I've had multiple run-ins with riptides and that kind of thing in the past, and I felt confident about what I could do, and I'm glad I did it. But I also think I gave a little bit of stress to my wife and my daughter at the time, and
Yeah, we were a little panicked.
But thank you guys for recognizing me for this. I appreciate it. Really, I had no idea it was going to happen, and it was nice of you guys to do that. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you, Jerry, for everything that you do for the city of Green Bay on a daily basis. And
Thank you. I appreciate that.
and happy anniversary. All right. Well, that was a nice exclamation point for you. But thanks again for everything you do for the city, and more importantly, what you've done for this man and his family. It's really an incredible tribute to the person that you are. So thank you. And like I said, happy anniversary. Any comments from council for Jerry? All right. Well, thanks again.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for joining us. On to appointments. Motion to approve made by Alder Scannell, seconded by Alder Stevens, to approve the new appointments that are in front of us. Any comments or questions? Seeing none, all in favor will signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. And those appointments are approved. On to ordinances, second reading for adoption. There are two. Motion to suspend the rules made by Alder Johnson, seconded by Alder Scannell. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The rules are suspended. Motion to adopt made by Alder Scannell, seconded by Alder LaFave. Any comments? Questions? Seeing none, all in favor will signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it, and those ordinances have been adopted. Report of the Finance Committee. Motion to approve made by Alder Scannell, seconded by Alder Dorf, to approve Report L, which is the report of the Finance Committee from June 22nd, 2021. Any items here to be handled separately? On a particular item, Alder?
I just want to address how much we're bonding for. Are we retiring more bonding, or are we taking on more bonding than we have in the past, for the past year? I want to ask that question.
Okay, we'll pull item 6 then for you, sir. So we have items 4 and 6. Any others? All right. Hearing none others, all in favor of approving the remainder of that report, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have, and the report has been approved with the exception of items 4 and 6. Your wishes on item 4? Motion to approve made by Alder Scannell, seconded by Alder Galvin. That item was pulled by Alder Weary. Alder, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, I want to thank Law Department for putting this proposal together and Finance for approving it. It's obviously long overdue, and I hope this catches us back up. And I would ask that if we do start falling behind, let's look at if we need more staff or if we need to outsource again, because we can't get behind in a lot of these endeavors that we're working on, whether it's the various ordinances we're working on or cleaning up and things that sit in proposal status for 2 or 3 years. We can't go through that again. So I hope this is a one-time thing, and we can address staffing if we need it, or in an emergency, please feel free to come to us, and we don't want to fall behind. So I'm in favor of it. Thanks.
Absolutely. Thanks, Alder. Budget time's coming up, FYI. Any other comments on this item? Alder Stoyer.
Thank you, Your Honor. I was just wondering, maybe Director Ellenbecker, she could answer this. I was just wondering what is left in the city's contingency fund once this $43,450 was appropriated, or will be. I just want to know what we're left with.
Thanks, Alder. Director Ellenbecker?
Hi all. Yes, the contingency fund starts with $150,000. Finance Committee has not approved any other expenditures at this point. So it'd be the $150,000 less the $43,450. So just under, or just over about $105,000 left.
Okay,
Thanks, Director.
Thank you.
Alder?
that's it.
Okay, thank you. All right, we do have a motion to approve in a second. Without any further comments, all in favor will signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it, that item has been approved. On to item 6. Motion to approve made by Alder Scannell, seconded by Alder Galvin. The item was pulled by Alder Vanderleest.
Thank you. Just want to ask our financial director, the amount that we're bonding for in 2021, is it?
I can't hear.
Is it more or less?
We
More
could just-
or less? What's the difference in the amount we're bonding for?
The question,
I can restate it. In other words, the amount that we're bonding for this year,
Alder, you need to just unmute, or mute rather. Yep, and just speak into the microphone.
Diane, my question was, the amount that we're bonding for, is it more or less than the previous year? Are we bonding more for this year or less than we have for the past year?
We are bonding substantially less than last year, but it is the same amount that we are paying off in principal. So it's a very even, we're paying off about 7.6 million on the general fund side, and we're borrowing about 7.6. So debt wise, we're going to stay very even year over year. We're not going to increase our outstanding. But last year, we did borrow more than this.
Okay. Is our debt level over 200 million at this time?
Is that including, I don't have the number in front of me at this very moment. Are you including the KI Convention Center? That would be different funding sources. With that, we're over a little over 200,000, but without that general fund and the general obligation, it would not be over 200,000.
200 million or 200,000?
200 million.
Okay, thank you. That was my question. What about the redevelopment authority? One other question about the redevelopment authority. We're bonding I think it's, $2,240,000. I just have one question on that. Can you explain what that money is actually doing as far as in our community? In other words, we're bonding for that much money?
The $2 million plus, I think that's issuance cost, is all pertaining to TIF number 22, which is our shipyard area. That is the second part of phase 1 to get that shipyard project off the ground. That is part of the original plan that the council has approved of a $9.5 million plan. To date, we had already bonded about 5.5 million. This will take us up to the 7.5. Again, there's a development agreement between the RDA and the council that has approved up to $9.5 million borrowing to move the shipyard project forward. So each year we've been borrowing around 2 million to phase it out so that we don't borrow it sooner than we spend it, so that we can push off the bond payment slightly a little bit closer to when we'll have more increment coming in that TID.
Okay, that answers my question. Thank you.
Thanks, Alder. We have a motion to approve in a second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. That item has been approved. On to report of the redevelopment authority. Motion to approve made by Alder Scannell, seconded by Alder Johnson. We have just one item here. All right. That item has been pulled by Alder Scannell, and we will go to you with any comments.
Yes, I would like to end up making a motion to amend this agreement to new language, and then I'll make a motion to adopt as amended. But before I do that, I'd like to kick it over to our ED Director, to explain it all. So take it away, Neil.
Absolutely. Thank you, Alder Scannell. Good evening, everyone. This is obviously the information has been provided in your packet. A quick summary of the project. Again, the mayor did a good job of kind of doing a quick summary there, so I won't reiterate all of that. But it's a phased project in terms of elevations, a 5 to 3 story building that kind of wraps around the current block. 172 market rate units with a mix of studio 1, 2, and 3 bedroom units, ground floor grocery store of about 15,000 square feet, plus an additional 7,000 square feet of retail space. Completion date is estimated at December 31st, 2024. The estimated project value at this point is $22 million, with a minimum of $17.6 million in order to qualify for any sort of assistance going forward on the project. The original RDA recommendation was an 80% annual increment to the developer, with 20% going to the city after the city's acquisition costs would be recovered on an upfront basis. After essentially getting that through RDA at that recommendation, further consideration and evaluation with the developer realized that was going to be not going to be, they essentially would have had to wait till 2027 to get their first round of assistance, and that was not going to be effective for their cash flow. So staff and the developer kind of went back to the drawing board and essentially have kind of reset that to be, instead of 80-20, we've said it's 75% to the developer, 8% set aside for the debt service on an annual basis, with the remaining 17% still coming to the city. The intent obviously would have certainly been nice to recover that all up front and recover that first. However, this still does allow the city to recover that initial land acquisition costs. It just does so over the life of the district. We are essentially going to be charging ourselves a 2% interest rate. This is an internal borrowing that was done. So we'll be paying ourselves back at a 2% interest rate. So the overall amount of funds paid back to the city will actually end up being closer to 1.4 to 1.5 million, depending on the speed that it gets paid back. So again, from staff standpoint, we still do recover the land costs. Originally, the intent was thought that some of the parking revenue would have been used to help offset the revenues for the site. Obviously, for a variety of economic reasons, that didn't prove to be viable. But this position still allows the city to recover its costs over the life of the project and of the assistance that is being provided. I believe the developer is here if everyone has any questions. And if certainly all of the information, the renderings and the agreement and the highlighted language that was added are included in your packets. So certainly available to answer any questions anyone may have.
Great. Thank you, Director. Any comments initially, Alder Scannell?
No, just that I certainly support the changes, and I hope the council will too. I mean, we're still getting our money, just going to be spread out a little further than right up front. So it's still a great project, and I want to thank, the developer. I know some people have been a little disappointed that we lost the subsidized housing portion of it, but the developer is really doing a lot to make sure we get a grocery store in there. They're keeping the square footage cost of that considerably low. So they're doing all they can to be a great product for the city, and I truly appreciate it.
Thanks, Alder. Do you want to make your
I make a motion to adopt the amended agreement, or to
offer the amendment?
Yes. Yes. Thank you.
You bet.
I'll adopt that.
All right. The Alder makes a motion to add his amendment to the agreement. Is there a second for that? Seconded by Alder Galvin. I believe there's discussion from Alder LaFave.
Yeah, I just had a question. What is the due date? How long is it a pay-go? It's a pay-go, right? How long is that?
It's about a 20-year pay-go, so I believe it was 2043, I believe, is when it actually would be done.
I guess I won't see it.
You never know. Any other questions, Alder? No?
No, oh, no, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Alder Stoyer and then Alder Johnson.
I was going to ask Director Steck-Schulte just about the market rate, what the rents are, and I don't know if that's something that can be given at this time, or is it going to depend on when the project is finished? I just wanted to know what the range would be.
They, well, they've told us at this point, Alders, that they are market rate units. I do believe that the developer is available to answer if they have a more specific rent in mind.
Yeah, I wrote it. My name is Mike Klein. I'm with Klein Development.
Just
I'm
one
Ted
second.
Madcom from Gorman.
1 second, Mr. Klein. We just need to.
Mike, just
open-
hold on.
Okay.
They need to open the floor for you. Hold on.
Sorry.
Open the floor.
Motion to open the floor made by Alder Story, seconded by Alder Johnson. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The floor is open. Mr. Klein, go ahead.
Thank you. We are the rents for the project. Studio apartment, basically as a junior 1-bedroom, is going to be around $1,000 to $1,150. Standard good size 1-bedroom apartment, which is around 750 square feet, will be between $1,300 and $1,450 ish, and then the 2 bedrooms will be around $1,695 to $1,795. And then we will have some 3-bedroom units that will be around just over $2,000 a month.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Klein. Further questions?
Thank you.
Not specifically, I guess. I wanted to ask as far as the other element of the subsidized housing and what may have happened to that. I'd like to just an explanation on that.
Sure. I don't know if Mr. Matcom is
Maybe, yeah.
is on the line. He can certainly tell that story if he
Ted's
is.
here.
Okay.
Yep.
And
So,
Ted, if you just want to give your name and address real quick before you proceed.
Sure. Ted Matcom, 200 North Main Street in Oregon, Wisconsin. We had initially done an RFP with the city. We were awarded that based on the, when you say subsidized, it was a Section 42 as opposed to a Section 8 project. It was a low-income housing tax credit project through WIDA. By the time that we had replied to the RFP, to the time we were awarded the RFP, the scoring in the WIDA matrix to get the credit drastically changed, unfortunately, for this parcel. And the qualified census tract that this parcel was in was no longer. And WIDA would not grandfather this parcel in. So we were unable to apply and obtain tax credits on the deal. So in our RFP response, we had committed to finding a market rate solution if the low-income housing tax credit solution did not pan out. And so we have really looked at the market, the rents that were achievable, the size of the project along with the retail. And we really believe that this type of project that we're presenting, both architecturally and program-wise, in terms of the grocer that's going in there, who is a current downtown grocer who will expand their operation, as well as some other retail users we have on hand, which are not finalized yet, but very close to being finalized, will just provide an amazing bookend to downtown on this side of Monroe, and just create a vibrancy downtown development that we really believe will be a great asset to downtown. And I do understand, because I am an affordable housing developer. Yes, I also do market rate, but I do understand the need for affordable housing. We have to put butts in the seats downtown, period. And we're going to have some market rate. There's going to be some affordable coming up, but it also has to jibe with the WIDA scoring matrix. And if it doesn't, you got to go a different direction. I think we've been presented an opportunity to go that different direction here. The market can take it as long as, these construction costs come down a little bit and settle down, which we believe they will. We believe it's a supply chain issue. And that these construction costs will get in line. And if they do, we're off to the races. We love downtown Green Bay, bullish on downtown Green Bay. And we believe this market rate is one component of housing that will really invigorate the downtown for years to come.
Thank you, Mr. Macomb.
Thank you, Ted. I appreciate that. And I'm glad that you mentioned about affordable housing, that you look at projects like that as well. But for this type project, you did what you could. So thank you for that.
Right. Exactly. Thank you.
Thanks, Alder. Thanks, Ted. Other questions for our guests? Alder LaFave?
I don't know if this is the time to ask right here. I was interested in the grocery store. Because the rent for these apartments a little bit high-end, I would say, I hope the grocery store is going to be reasonably priced so that, because we have a lot of people living downtown that cannot afford a top grocery store. I know, I don't shop at the, I believe I know who is considering moving into it. I don't shop there, but I would assume, because of their clientele, I'm pretty sure that they would keep the prices reasonable, but does anybody know what it's like?
The prices of the rent for the grocery store, or the prices product at the grocery store?
At the grocery store.
Well, let me expound on that, because as we have been given the charge from the Common Council and the RDA, this project would not happen unless there was a full-fledged grocery store that was in this project. So believe me, we know what we're talking about. We have cultivated many grocery stores to come in this area. All grocery stores that we have approached, and I think this is industry-wide, I don't think this is just the ones we approached. We had a pretty good sample test case in terms of the amount of grocers that we approached. They all, without question, said that the data metrics at this specific site were not good. And I'm not going to sugarcoat it. They were not good. They would not commit to dollars coming into this site being a grocery store because there weren't enough rooftops, period. I mean, that's just a grocery store metric. And this is a food desert. So there are incentives that we can go after that address that food desert, which is great. So the one user that we have really worked with over the last, I'd say, 6 months prior to this meeting is a current downtown grocer. You probably know who it is. I'm not going to say it because she doesn't really want me to say it, but it's someone that's very close to the site and they know the market. And the key about our user here is two things. Number one, we have committed to a low base rent in order for her to be successful. And number two, we've committed to a current downtown grocer that knows the market and has a market share and isn't looking for a market share because they have a client base. What they're looking for is to expand that market share, and their investment in our product in terms of the tenant improvements that they will be investing in and ramping up their operations. They are very optimistic that those investments will be fruitful in terms of the market that they know and think they can expand. And so we are extremely excited, and I think the mayor shares my excitement with this, and Neil and everybody, that we've been cultivating this opportunity for someone in downtown to expand their business who's organically Green Bay, and to make it just this vibrant commercial little corridor that we're creating here. And we're going to have some complementary uses with her as well. But the market really is there, but it's only there for someone who's been there and done that. Metrics just aren't there. So, you know what? I got so excited, I forgot the question, but hopefully that answered.
I think it was just kind of a question on what market the grocer was going to be targeting. If it was going to be, kind of luxury, high-end, or...
They have a current market, and without disclosing who it is, because our negotiations are not final, she asked me not to do that.
Just so you know, Ted, she is in the Press Gazette.
Right, it is in the Press Gazette. Okay, so there is a current market there for her that she knows and does know and wants to expand upon. So we're very optimistic about that.
Thank you. Yeah, excuse me. Yes, I saw it in the Press Gazette, and yes, I was glad to hear that her and her family are involved. And I know that they've been in downtown Green Bay for a while now. They have a good market, and I appreciate them being there. I just wanted to make sure that, you know, like her rent or whatever for the building isn't gonna be so high that she would have to raise her prices. And I'm just concerned on that. Thank you.
It's very reasonable. I mean,
Good.
you know,
I
we're
appreciate that.
and we haven't finally negotiated the whole thing. So I'm not going to disclose the terms, but I'll tell you, it's probably the lowest base rent you've seen on a grocer in a long time in order that she'll be successful. I'll guarantee you that.
Okay, thank you very much, I appreciate that.
Thanks, Alder.
Yes.
Any other questions for our guests?
No, thank you.
Entertain a motion? Motion to close the floor made by Alder Scannell, seconded by Alder Vanderleest. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The floor is closed. Alder Johnson.
Great. Thank you.
Thanks so much,
Appreciate it.
Ted.
Thank you, Mayor. You know, I know there's been a lot of discussion on this project because it was initially proposed as an affordable housing development, and a lot of folks were disappointed about that. But I think it's important to recognize how these development deals come to play and how they're financed and the complexities that come with it. And the reality is, affordable housing developments don't happen unless you have state tax credits. And if there's not a state tax credit, you're asking the developer to really invest in this. And I know some folks have mentioned, right, that these are expensive apartments, but we have to talk in math. Math doesn't lie. Median household income in Brown County is $62,340. Assuming you spend 30% of your income on rent, which is a generally accepted amount, that's $1,558 a month on housing. These apartments are market rate. This is what people can afford. And that also means if $62,000 is the median, that means there are people who earn more that can afford to pay more. And so I think it's important to recognize again that we have housing needs across the spectrum right now. It's not just in one category. Affordable housing is absolutely a need within the city, but so is market rate. And the city continues to work on affordable housing developments. And I mentioned this at the Redevelopment Authority when this was brought up. We just put in 107 units, which are only, I believe, 50% occupied right now. So if anybody in our community is in need of affordable housing, please reach out to me because I will connect you to some vacant units that are currently available. And in the meantime, we will continue to pursue additional development until that demand is saturated. It's important that we do that, but it's important we do it across all income levels. This is a good project. I said this at the Redevelopment Authority. I'll say it again. The design is impeccable. The types of tenants they're bringing in, and you know, we talk a lot oftentimes about accessible value, and this project I think was 22 million accessible, but this is $40 to $50 million of construction cost, right? This isn't like pulling out a mortgage on a house. And so recognizing the significance of that and how that capital stack comes to play. Just because we want affordable housing doesn't mean we can dictate it if the resources aren't there to make it sustainable. Because if you dictate that, I mean, it'll just never happen. And then we're 172 units that don't enter the marketplace that could potentially impact that waterfall effect that we oftentimes talk about, which is more units will reduce the demand, which can actually free up units that are currently being occupied by individuals who can afford more house. So I think this is a really good development for the city of Green Bay. I do have one question though for Director Steck-Schulte because I do want to understand the amendment fully. We're looking at about, if I recall correctly, Neil, you said $200,000 to $300,000 in interest would be paid on that note to satisfy the original debt to purchase the lot. I mean, that basically just means that there's just $200,000 to $300,000 less available in the TID that could potentially be used for another incentive or could potentially be excess at the end of the TID when we close it to apply towards other investments. Would that be an accurate assessment or statement?
I believe that's accurate, Alder Johnson. By charging ourselves interest, we're certainly benefiting the original funding source of where we borrowed the money, but it is essentially over time is an additional expense in the TIF.
Right.
But it is a common and reasonable one, certainly for any more traditional financing.
But we're repaying ourselves for the original purchase of that lot, which, if
Correct.
I have to remind this council, doesn't always happen. In fact, that's a pretty rare thing. I mean, the developer's basically through the TID saying, hey, we're going to kind of repay this lot, and I can't remember the last time we've seen that happen. So I'm actually excited about that, the fact that the TID can do that in this development agreement. and at the same time creating, I mean, for the price of $200,000, really creating $22 million, probably on the conservative end, $22 million of accessible development. And this is when you have this dense urban development, it creates tax base that pays for city services across our entire community. And I think just large-scale development is often misunderstood. I see it in the conversations that happen in our community. And so I just kind of wanted to go on my soapbox a little bit to maybe help explain why this is impactful and why it's meaningful, and why I would encourage City Council to unanimously support this, because this is taxable development that puts very little strain on other city services, right? There's less infrastructure. When you think about garbage service and some of those other things, there's less strain on that when you have large development like this. So I wholeheartedly support this.
Thanks, Alder. Alder Galvin? Alder Galvin?
Thank you. And I just want to remind everybody the consternation we had several years back when we found out this lot was going to be bought by another entity and used as a parking lot. And we would have been denied this opportunity had that happened. And there was a lot of arguing that went back and forth, the amount of money that the city had to pay for it. But I think in the end result, I think we all ought to be very happy that, that this council had the foresight to take advantage of that and purchase it and have it available for this development. Thank you.
Thanks, Alder. Alder LaFave?
Yes, last time. Yeah, this is for you, Mayor. Have you been in conversation with other mayors and other cities who are having the same problem with the state, that they're not giving us these tax credits for, it'd be good maybe for the mayors to get together and to go to the state and say, this is needed. Show them, because it was in the Press Gazette 3 times in this month, where it was talking about people who are really having trouble finding affordable housing. And, the need is really there. And this is something that we got to really press with the state. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And, whenever I talk with fellow mayors, if the topic is economic development, it's certainly housing, and affordable housing is a big piece of that. This was kind of a complicated situation where, as Mr. Matcom explained, it was in an eligible census tract and then it moved out. It's technically still eligible for tax credits under federal law, but that wasn't the way that WIDA was reading things. So that it was a frustrating experience. There's no doubt about that. But certainly a topic of discussion that we all have. We do have an opportunity with the federal funds that have come to us through ARPA, their American Rescue Plan Act, to make some further investments in affordable housing. So that's certainly something that I will be advocating for with you all, and having that conversation with the community within the next few months. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, but the other thing that I would say is economic diversity is really important in our neighborhoods. And so, I personally don't see a downside to this development at all. I'm incredibly enthusiastic about it, about the housing itself, but also the amenities with UWGB having a presence in the downtown grocery store. We want people of all income levels and backgrounds mixing and mingling and enjoying our downtown and our community at large and everything that it has to offer. So I think this is, what we're doing in Whitney Park, I think, is a model for the rest of the city, because I think we need to be identifying need for affordable housing, in all of our neighborhoods, and need for market housing as well. So, I know there are a lot of opinions in the community about this and about affordable housing in general, and I totally respect that, and there's a huge need for more of it, and I'll continue to advocate for it. But this project, in and of itself, stands on its own in a really positive light, I think. So I'm excited about it. Any additional comments on the amendment? Alder Steuer.
Your Honor. I support this as well. A city grows and is strong, but because of its downtown, so that's very important. So Alder Johnson made a very good point about, that services are taken care of often by, more dense development per se. So, I know that we'll be looking at affordable housing and things in the future, but I think for this type project, with what's been stated and the fact that we'll be paying ourselves in a sense, it'll take a little while, and it is unique. And Alder Galvin also mentioned the fact that, we went around the block several times on this in other ways. So I support this, and thank you.
Thanks, Alder. Any further comments on the amendment? Seeing none, all in favor will signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it.
Before I make my motion, I'd just like to say that I truly believe the grocer, if their investment isn't fruitful, it will be vegetable. And now I'd like to make a motion to adopt as amended.
Motion to adopt as amendment made by Alder Scannell, seconded by Alder Corpus Dax. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor will signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it unanimously. Thank you all. Thank you, Mr. Matcom and Mr. Klein, everyone involved in the project, as well as Director Steck Schulte, Assistant Director Rainier Wig, and the entirety of our Community and Economic Development staff. Fantastic work on this project. So thank you all.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you very much. Take care.
On to INS.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve the report of the Improvement and Services Committee from June 23, 2021, made by Alder Scannell, seconded by Alder Gerlach. Any items here to be handled separately? 2 and 7? 1, 2, and 7. Any others?
Number 1.
Items 1, 2, and 7 will be handled separately. Hearing none others, all in favor of approving the remainder of that report, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The report has been approved with the exception of items 1, 2, and 7. Your wishes on 1? Motion to approve made by Alder Scannell, seconded by Alder Johnson. The item was pulled by Alder Johnson and Alder Scannell. You can arm wrestle. Alder Johnson, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a question for Director Grenier. When I was reviewing the agreement, I noticed Section 1.4 called for 20 mile per hour on the scooters, but Section 5.22 said 15 miles per hour. Just hoping that you could clarify that discrepancy for me.
Absolutely. That was a mistake, a miss on Section 1.4, cross-referencing that against the ordinance. The ordinance limits to 15. So 15 is the correct number.
Okay, so do we need to have a formal amendment to modify the memorandum of understanding? Is that required, or is that a Scrivener's error?
I don't know necessarily that it's required, but if we're here, that wouldn't hurt.
All right, I'll move to amend that Section 1.4 be edited or amended to 15 miles per hour.
Alder Johnson makes a motion to amend as was stated. That was seconded by Alder Stoyer. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The amendment is approved.
That's all I had, Mayor. Thank you.
Thanks, Alder. Good catch. Alder Scannell? Yeah. Alder Scannell, and then Alder LaFave.
Okay, I before the meeting, I was contacted by someone who said they would like to speak on this, so I'd like to make a motion to open the floor. I believe they're here. I didn't see them on the Zoom, but I think they're there. So a motion to open the floor?
Motion to open the floor made by Alder Scannell, seconded by Alder Johnson. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The floor is open. Looks like Mr. Schwalbe would like to say something.
Hello, everyone. It's been a while. My name is Joshua Schwalbe, 232 North Dan's Avenue on the east side of town. I just wanted to add a couple of details because I was in Milwaukee when the flock of birds descended on Milwaukee when they asked forgiveness instead of permission. And I just wanted to give a little bit of information that might help. I want to see this succeed in Green Bay. You know, I'm a firm advocate of alternative transportation in the area. First and foremost, I know that they're not allowed on the sidewalks, but that was a big problem that we had in Milwaukee. People were getting seriously injured stepping out of the stores. So like Brian Johnson and Jeff Merkis, specifically in their downtown districts where they have frontages exiting into the sidewalk, there might be a little something that they can do to buffer the exits to these stores so that people don't get seriously injured. I think that the pilot program will go much better if there isn't any bad PR from any serious injuries like these collisions that might happen. So that was one really negative thing that happened in Milwaukee that we learned from. Another thing is I'm kind of concerned about how they're going to track retrieving them when they go into the water. I know that there's some language in the MOA about the scooters going in. Obviously, if they go over one of the bridges, they're kind of gone for good. But I was just kind of curious about how you would track when and how many of the scooters might go missing. I want to say a couple of positive things. I think the Bird platform did a really good job of training people how to park the scooters. They have to take a photo. That was a really good thing. And last but not least, differentiating a scooter from a bike, you might want to enter some language that has to do with the pedals and the crank, because the definition for the scooter right now kind of sounds like an electric bike as well, and there's a huge difference between the two. But I believe the absence of pedals might differentiate, like clear up a little bit of that differentiation. Otherwise, I'm open to any questions anyone might have, because I did try one of the scooters when I was down in Milwaukee, and I opened myself up to any questions that the council or audience might have.
Thanks for your comments, sir. Looks like there's another member of the public.
I'm sorry. I did have one other concern. The hours of operation were 24 hours a day, and probably between the hours of 1 a.m. and 4 a.m., they might want to consider disabling some of the scooters to stem some of the injuries that might come from intoxicated people riding the scooters. Thank you.
Thanks for your comments. It looks like we have another gentleman who'd like to speak.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Alders, appreciate you letting me speak. I'm Michael Cavato. I'm with the Revenue and Partnerships team at Bird Scooters, located at 406 Broadway Avenue in Santa Monica, California, unit number 369. I also am more than happy to answer any questions that the council might have. I had the pleasure of speaking with some of the alders here on council previously, and would welcome the opportunity to answer some additional questions, including the ones raised by Mr. Schwal.
Great. Thanks you both for being here. Any questions for our guests? Alder LaFave, go ahead.
Yes, my question is, if they go 15 miles an hour, so then they should have to, it's like a bike. If there's a bike lane, they have to be in a bike lane, or they have to be more to the side? Because at 15, you're going to have very impatient cars. Do you find that a problem?
In general, they should be treated as a bicycle. In terms of the regulation, in terms of the behavior, they are more akin to a bicycle than any other type of motor vehicle. Although they are motorized, they are not classified as a motor vehicle. That means keep them in bike lanes, keep them to the right side of streets. Certainly don't want people riding on sidewalks, as Mr. Schwab addressed. We do have some provisions around that to help prevent it. First and foremost by, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Alder Stoyer?
Thank you, Your Honor. This could be either for Michael or Joshua. The city of Green Bay is about 54 square miles. It's pretty wide from east to west. Some areas have bike lanes, some don't. Some are kind of understood. I know a bike plan has been done by the county, but I'm just wondering where your thoughts are as far as where these vehicles would go. Little side streets, the main drags, only areas that have bike lanes. Just kind of clarify a little bit that for me. Thank you.
Absolutely. The objective for this system is to really supplement existing public transportation and even private transportation options so individuals can use them to get directly from point A to point B. Director Grenier and his team supplied us with heat mapping information from the Lime Bike project that was done previously. In addition to that, we have a very sophisticated machine learning algorithm that takes a whole bunch of dynamic data, including time of day, temperature, where the app is being opened, et cetera, to predict where the scooter should be deployed to deliver the maximum amount of benefit within the community. I don't believe that the entire jurisdictional boundaries of Green Bay would be appropriate for an operational zone for the purposes of this pilot. Instead, we might want to concentrate among a particular core region and expand out from there as we have sufficient density for the fleet, as well as more rider data that we can use to determine how best to deploy.
Well, if you're looking for the core area, I mean, that would go outside of Green Bay as well, I would think, you know, into Ashwaubenon and Alloway, maybe to De Pere along the river. Is that kind of what you're thinking?
That would be part of it. Certainly Bay Beach, the university, which we would geofence out for the time being unless we had a formal agreement with it, in the downtown area. We do have some of our colleagues doing outreach to some of the neighboring communities to see if it would be allowed for us to operate there. In the interest of ensuring we do set the right foundation, as Mr. Schwalb indicated, it was important for us to make sure that we exclude them until there is a formal agreement. The only way these systems work sustainably is if there is a constructive and collaborative relationship between us and our city partners, using the word partner informally, of course.
Okay, thank you. I'm good.
Thanks, Alder. Further comments or questions for our guests? Entertain a motion? Motion to close the floor made by Alder Stevens, seconded by Alder Galvin. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Floor is closed. Any comments or questions on the item itself? Seeing none, we have a motion and a second. All in favor will signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it, and item 1 has been approved. Thanks to Mr. Cavato and Mr. Schwalbe for joining us. And thanks especially, I mentioned Alder Johnson for kind of bringing this forward initially, but really want to recognize our law department and Director Grenier and his staff for all the time and effort they've spent on this item. Both Attorney Bungert and Attorney Mather have also made this possible and in pretty short order once we identified a good model. So thanks to all involved. Appreciate that. On to item 2. Which is also related to the agreement in front of us. Motion to approve made by Alder Scannell, seconded by Alder Gerlach. Item was pulled by Alder Brunette. You have the floor.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. One thing I caught at the committee level that Deputy Attorney Bungert said she would look into was page 3, age limits. There's a line that stated that children under the age of 8, 6 or 7-year-olds may operate a scooter, but they have to be accompanied by an adult also on a scooter. And I made the point that having a child that age, if I'm going to accompany her while she rides a scooter, I probably won't be on one. I'll probably walk or ride a bike or run alongside of her. So Attorney Bungert was going to look into that and possibly adjust the ordinance to reflect that. Wondering if Attorney Chavez or Attorney Bungert could speak to that point.
Thanks, Alder. It looks like Director Grenier might be able to chime in on that.
Thanks, Mayor. One of the things that was suggested at the committee was to modify the language. So the amendment would be to strike also on an electric scooter. So the ordinance would end, the new age limits would be no person less than 8 years of age shall operate an electric scooter on city roadways, except that persons 6 and 7 may operate an electric scooter on city roadways during daylight hours if accompanied by an adult, period. This subsection is intended to permit usage of electric scooters by families. While we haven't had a specific conversation regarding the applicability of that language, that was the language that, by my recollection, Attorney Bungert felt comfortable with at committee, and she has not given me any indication to the contrary at this point. So I think it would be appropriate for Alder Brunette to introduce an amendment to that effect.
Okay. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion under page 3, age limits, to remove the words also on an electric scooter.
Very good. Motion made.
Mayor?
Yes.
Mayor, this is Attorney Mather.
Yeah, Attorney Mather, go ahead.
If I could, I actually worked with Attorney Bungert to revise the language. I think there was just a mistake in getting it uploaded to the agenda. But I do have the revised link with me.
Okay, do you want to just read that back to us?
Yes, I'm sorry. I said I had it in front of me, but I was on the wrong page.
Oh, no problem.
So that first sentence for the age limits, the exception would be, except that person 6 or 7 years of age may do so during daylight hours if accompanied by an adult capable of remaining close enough to ensure the safe operation of the scooter by the 6 or 7-year-old, such as by walking or running alongside, using their own electric scooter or bicycle, or engaging in a similar activity.
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to amend the ordinance with the language that Attorney Mather just read.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Attorney Mather. Amendment has been offered by Alder Brunette, seconded by Alder Stevens. Any discussion on that amendment language? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The amendment is adopted. Motion to adopt as amended made by Alder Scannell, seconded by Alder Weary. Discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it, and that item has been adopted as amended. Item 7. Motion to approve made by Alder Scannell.
Second.
Seconded by Alder Dorf. The item was pulled by Alder Steuer.
Thank you, Your Honor. I've spent a little bit of time over the last year and a half with some boaters going to various boat launches throughout Green Bay, but also in Brown County. And I guess I wanted to ask Director Grenier and if Director Ditscheit is there as well. We found out after the fact, we thought that it was run by the city or owned by the city, but NEW Water owns it. So I just wanted a clarification on that as far as, you know, what the park department is doing there, what the Public Works is doing there. You know, they kind of have different functions there on that property. So I would like just, you know, hear a clarification of NEW Water owning it, what the park department is doing there, and what also Public Works is entitled to do as well.
Director Grenier, would you be able to chime in on that?
Sure, I can start, and if Director Ditscheit wants to add on or clarify anything, I would more than welcome that. There has been a little bit of confusion over who is the lead agency at times, so Director Ditscheit and I have had a conversation within the past couple of months and have come to agreement that Parks Department will be taking the lead at the boat launch facility, and we will be the support agency that essentially brings the muscle to the table, as it were. There are no issue or confusion relative to New Water being the owner. They always have been. That doesn't change anything as far as how the operation of this facility has been for the last 30 years or so. So we have no concerns with New Water being the owner. We are working collaboratively with Parks Department in all respects out here to get the work done. This grant award is $200,000, so that's definitely going to assist with our efforts in being able to dress up and bring that facility up to current. One of the reasons that we decided to put it on the INS agenda was quite simply INS was having a meeting, and our agenda was open, whereas Dan had pretty much finalized his, so we decided to take it through. It was just easier from a timing perspective for us to get the approvals from INS as opposed to Parks. But as I mentioned, Dan and I talk almost on a daily basis, and we're sitting down working with the Parks, Rec, and Forestry Department to identify what the priority needs are out there and how we can best position ourselves to help serve that.
Great. Thanks, Director.
That's good, and I appreciate that. I know there's been some issues over there with high water and low water and this and that over the years, and the wind direction, and but it is a viable and an important spot for the city of Green Bay, and as far as having fishing tournaments, any number of things that go on, it would be I just want to make people aware that it's a resource that we need to really utilize as well as we can, and I realize, Director Grenier, that you are looking at facilities or new docks and different things like that. So I would hope that you would keep us apprised of that and as we move forward, and would appreciate any help on that. Thank you.
Thanks, Alder. Any further comments? All in favor will signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. That item is approved. On to protection and policy. Motion to approve made by Alder Stevens, seconded by Alder Scannell, and that's to approve Report O, Report of the Protection and Policy Committee on June 22nd, 2021. Any items here to be handled separately? Hearing none. All in favor of approving that report, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The report has been approved. Just a quick note of thanks to our clerk's office, Clerk Jeffries and Deputy Clerk Fugie and the whole team down there. That's a lot of work in terms of wrangling all the liquor license applicants in a timely manner, so really appreciate all of that work. On to report of the Protection and Policy Committee granting operator licenses. Motion to approve made by Alder Scannell, seconded by Alder LaFave. Any abstentions? Alder Johnson?
Mayor, I think it would be prudent for me to abstain from the approval of my own license.
That makes sense to me. We will note that. Any others? Or any to be held separately? Seeing none. All in favor will signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it, and that report has been approved. Plan Commission. Motion to approve made by Alder Corpus Dax, seconded by Alder Dorf. Any items, or to that is to approve the report of the Plan Commission from June 7th and June 21st of 2021. Any items here to be handled separately? Number 2. Any others?
Mayor, if I could be recorded as abstaining from number 7, as the applicant is a member of my executive committee.
That will be noted. Any others? Okay, item 2 will be handled separately. Hearing none others, all in favor of approving the remainder of that report, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The report has been approved with the exception of item 2. Motion to approve item 2 made by Alder Scannell, seconded by Alder Gerlach. The item was pulled by Alder Stoyer. You have the floor.
Your Honor. With this project coming into play, I'm just wondering, I presume that one building will be taken down before another one is put up. I'm just wondering about any kind of repurposing of items or materials from the previous place. And then, traffic concerns like anything else. If anybody has been on the west side and Alder Vanderleest district and seen the Popeyes out there, I mean, I've tried 7 times to go in there just to try to get a sandwich, and it's almost impossible. So some concern, Main Street is very busy. You got Mason Street nearby as well. And I know that, Dave Hansen went through it and all that, but I guess I would just like some clarification, make sure that will be okay as far as traffic flow, and then also if there's any consideration to repurpose or save materials from the previous place.
Okay, we'll go to Director Steck-Schulte maybe on that first question, and then Mr. Hansen or Director Grenier on the traffic one.
Thank you, Mayor. That was certainly not a condition of approval, Alder Stoyer, but we were more than happy to reach out to the applicant and see if that is something that they would be willing to do and make those materials available. I think that's a very easy request to accommodate. And I think just in terms of, I guess I'll just do a quick comment, I guess, if I could, Mayor, on the traffic. Certainly in addition to Mr. Hansen's review, which has been very thorough, I think from our department's perspective. Also, because there is an existing restaurant already in place in Green Bay, we feel that certainly there will be some interest in the new one opening, certainly in the neighborhood. But the immediate demand expected that happened at the original opening when there was not another store in town is expected to be significantly less for this particular facility, and that it will actually normalize fairly quickly. So that has been kind of factored into, I think, part of the review of the traffic at this point. But I don't know if Director Grenier or if Mr. Hansen has any other comments.
Certainly. Relative to the traffic, that was a concern of ours as well. So we have been working with the store owner and their traffic consultant. We've come up with not only the standard operating procedure for the store as anticipated, but they do have a contingency plan utilizing on-site storage, and they were also required to develop a traffic mitigation plan in case that failed. So we literally have a plan A, a plan B, and a plan C for a store, which in my 13 years with the department, this is the first time we've ever required something that in-depth.
All right, thanks.
Well, that's interesting.
Thanks to both of you. Alder Stoyer, anything further?
That's good. I'm good.
Alder LaFave and then Alder Brunette.
Yes, I was wondering, was Walgreens involved in that? Because, in the discussions, because I wonder if they will have some concerns, because people may be trying to pulling into their lot because they connect. I know, both lots connect, and I wonder if they had concerns about it?
Director Steck-Schulte?
I certainly believe they were notified throughout this process in terms of going through, and we did not receive any comments that I'm aware of at this point.
Okay, thank you. Alder Brunette?
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for Director Grenier and Director Steck-Schulte for working on this. I think it's a good idea, good plan. It looked like there was good discussion at the different committees that it had appeared at, and I'm in favor. I think Popeyes is a well-known brand. It's added a lot of activity to the area that I live in, good commercial activity. For a public service announcement for Alderman Stoyer, you can actually order it online and pick it up. You don't have to wait in line. They have good chicken sandwiches, and that's what I've done, and it's real quick, because I don't want to wait in line either. But all seriousness, though, I think traffic is a concern when you have commercial development in any neighborhood in any city, but I think we vetted it properly, and I think to add another location to the city of Green Bay and the tax revenue, I think it's a good decision. So thank you.
Thanks, Alder. Anything further? I'll just note really quickly, it's a little bit bittersweet, right, for Wally Spot to be closing, an institution in the city of Green Bay for over a half century. I'm not sure exactly how many years, but 78 years, says Alder Gerlach, and just a fantastic family, really incredible citizens, Tommy and the whole family. So bittersweet news to be losing Wally Spot. But in terms of reclaiming that sign, maybe you could talk to Martha Alder Stoyer about putting that in the front lawn or something. We don't want to lose that. That's good. No, but in all seriousness, thanks to Tommy and the whole team, all of his employees for serving the community some fantastic food for 78 years. So with that, we have a motion and a second. All in favor will signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it, and that item has been approved. On to report of the Park Committee. Motion to approve the meeting of the Park Committee on June 23, 2021 by Alder Scannell, seconded by Alder Stevens. Any items here to be handled separately? Number one. Any others? Hearing none others, all in favor of approving the remainder of that report, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The report has been approved with the exception of item 1. Motion to approve. Second. Motion to approve made by Alder Scannell, seconded by Alder Gerlach. Item was pulled by Alder Weary.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I did watch the meeting, and forgive me if I missed it. What is the expected total plan cost for this, either the Alder or Director?
Yes, Director Ditchay?
I can answer.
Yeah, go ahead, Director.
Yes, I can answer that. The total cost is roughly about $900,000 to implement the master plan. We currently don't have any money set aside for it other than the relocation and the purchase of a new playground. So this is really just to guide us for future development. And as we fit it into our 5-year CIP, we'll look at our priorities with our other parks. And I would not imagine we would be phasing this all at once. It could happen over 5, 10, 20 years.
Appreciate it. And I know a question that had come up with some of the neighbors was about future houses being built on any of the current park property. Is that a dead issue?
Yeah, so it was proposed a few months ago to add some housing in the park where the existing playground is located. We did have some public input sessions, and at those meetings, the public really expressed concern with that. So our master plan does not show any residential development within the park.
All right, thank you, appreciate it. No, I'm in favor of this. I just had some clarifying questions. Thanks.
Thanks, Alder Gerlach.
So if I just speak, this is on then, huh?
It
This is my
is.
very first time
You're live.
speaking into this microphone. So I just want to mention that Old Preble Neighborhood Association, for whom the park is now named, spent 19 months gathering information and input from neighbors and filed for 501c3 status for the specific purpose of improving this park, has been approved for it, has started a parks fund. It only has $1,000 in some sense in it now, but I think the neighborhood association intends over time to help bear some of the burden of the cost.
Very good. Thank you for that, Alder. Any other comments? All right, all in favor? Oh, Alder LaFave.
Only comment I want to make is make sure that you don't ignore the older parks that have been around. I mean, this is an older one too, but there are some others, and I know there's a big issue with Farland Park that I have. So I hope that doesn't get lost in all this. Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Alder. All right, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it, and that item has been approved. Personnel.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve the report of the Personnel Committee from June 22nd, 2021. Motion was made by Alder Scannell, seconded by Alder Weary. Any items here to be handled separately? Hearing none. All in favor of approving that report, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The report has been approved. Report of the Tax Incremental Districts Joint Review Board. Motion to receive and place on file made by Alder Scannell, seconded by Alder Galvin. Any discussion here? Seeing none, all in favor will signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The item has been received and placed on file. EDA. Motion to adopt made by Alder Scannell, seconded by Alder Stoyer. Any discussion on this report? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it, and the report of the Economic Development Authority on June 7, 2021 has been adopted. Receive and place on file.
We don't need to suspend the rules, do we?
Motion to receive and place on file made by Alder Scannell, seconded by Alder Galvin. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it, and that receive and place on file has been approved. Ordinances, first and final reading for adoption. Just a reminder here, for first and final readings, we do need a 2/3 majority on this item.
Motion to adopt.
Motion to adopt was made by Alder Scannell, seconded by Alder Gerlach. Alder Brunette?
Yeah, I just want to remind the council that we amended this under the Improvement and Service Committee. So I would make a motion to approve with the amendments approved. I mean, I don't know how I phrase that, but motion to approve with a recently adopted amendment.
Attorney Chavez, any guidance there?
To approve as amended by the under the committee report is appropriate.
Okay, great. Motion was made by Alder Brunette, seconded by Alder Weary. Comment from Alder Johnson?
Yep. Mayor, I may look to Attorney Chavez for some advice on this, but I'm looking at, on the agenda, Y3, which I wanted to have us adopt with one vote. Would it be appropriate to reconsider approval of the agenda? I wish I would have thought of this sooner, to place it under this particular item so that we can take first and final reading together, or should I handle that item separately when it comes up?
You can open, or you can handle that separately when it comes up. There's no issue with it. We just advertise it for first and final when we know it's going to go or going to be presented as first and final. But the only thing that's required by our ordinance is that it's a 2/3 vote when it's adopted, if it's at the same meeting it's introduced.
Okay. In which case, then, Mayor, I'll wait until that item comes up.
Okay, sounds good. We do have that amendment and the second. Alder Dorf?
Wanted to mention that
Yeah.
it was actually amended already in
The packet?
the packet. Yeah.
Okay.
That must have been where that amendment ended up, so it is correct.
So under ordinances, it has been?
Right.
Okay.
So however, we still want to do it.
Okay, we'll just handle it
Okay.
with the amendment. But that's a good point. Appreciate that. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The amendment has adopted. And then Entertain a motion to approve as adopted, or as amended.
Second.
Motion made by Alder Scannell, seconded by Alder Dorf, and we will use the board.
Alders, you may vote. Alders, are you seeing this vote? Just to make sure. Yes? Okay, thank you.
We are not seeing it displayed, if that was your question, clerk.
Now I will display it. Thank
Okay.
you.
And that ordinance is adopted unanimously, 12-0. On to resolutions. Motion to suspend the rules and take up these items with one roll call vote has been made by Alder Scannell, seconded by Alder Corpus Dax. Any discussion here? Seeing none, we will use the board. Oh, sorry. All in favor will signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The rules are suspended. Motion to adopt made by Alder Scannell, seconded by Alder Galvin, and now we will use the board.
Alder Vanderleest, if you would vote, please.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Just one moment.
And those are approved 12-0 unanimously. On to ordinances first reading. Alder Johnson would like to be noted as abstaining on item 2, and we will suspend the rules and take up items 1, 2, and 4 with one roll call vote. All in favor will signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. That motion to suspend the rules was made by Alder Scannell, seconded by
Johnson.
Alder Johnson. Motion to advance made by Alder Scannell, seconded by Alder Corpus Dax. All in favor will signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it, and items 1, 2, and 4 have been advanced. Item 3.
I would make a motion to adopt with first and final reading.
Motion to adopt with first and final reading made by Alder Johnson, seconded by Alder Corpus Dax. And we will use the board here. And that is successful, 12-0 unanimously. On to Committee of the Whole. We'll just take these, we'll take these one by one. Item 1 is consideration with possible action on initiating litigation against opioid manufacturers for potential violations of law in the marketing, sale, and distribution of opioids. We don't have to go into closed session, but I think, and I just wanted to note, if members of council want a little bit more of an explanation, I believe Attorney Chavez has sent out some email communications on this. Certainly can have a discussion in closed session, though, if there are questions. No? Okay. Alder Galvin makes a motion to approve. Alder Dorf seconds. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Item 2 is consideration with possible action to grant final approval authority to the Protection and Policy Committee for liquor license applications, liquor license amendments, and operator licenses from July 1, 2021 to July 31, 2021. Motion to approve made by Alder Vanderleest, seconded by Alder Scannell. Any discussion? Alder Gerlach, you look perplexed. Yeah, it's a good question. So Alder Gerlach asked why we're doing this. We don't have a meeting in July, so we have a little bit of a big gap here. There are some, hopefully some businesses in the community that would like to move forward with the Parklet program, and in order to expand their premises, it's more efficient to empower staff to do that, well, since we're not having a meeting for a little bit. So Protection Policy could have an emergency meeting or a special meeting in the interim here, and then we could approve that, or the staff rather could approve that without us having to come together. Yeah, but good question, good clarification for the public. We do have a motion and a second. All in favor will signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. That item has been approved. Petitions and communications. Alder Lefebvre and then Alder Brunette.
Oops. I have about 3 or 4 that I want to bring forward, but I'm going to do them tomorrow because I guess according to what Alder Scannell says, we'll save money. So I will put them in tomorrow. Thank you.
All right, sounds good. Alder Brunette.
I'm all for saving money, but I'm going to read these in, if that's okay. Forgive me. To consider a refund of inspection charges for 2593 Sumac Place that goes to Protection Policy. For discussion with possible action on the plan to remove dead, dying, or infected trees on city property. This may include contracting with private companies. That goes to Parks, I believe. For discussion with possible action on correcting erosion issues on the 1000 block of LeCount Road. And that goes to Improvement in Services.
Thanks, Alder. Motion to refer made by Alder Scannell. Alder Galvin.
Question actually, what does it cost us every time we do this publicly? I don't remember, you have to ask the clerk. Or does it?
Clerk, any comments on that? How much this costs?
So we do pay when we publish in the newspaper by the word. So I couldn't tell you precisely how much money it costs, but it does cost more money, the more words there are.
Thanks, Alder. Alder Brunette.
Permission to dock my pay? That's right. Okay.
All right, there is a motion to refer made by Alder Scannell. Seconded by Alder Corpus Dax. All in favor will signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Those have been. Motion to adjourn made by Alder Scannell. Seconded by Alder Corpus Dax. All in favor? Aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Go Bucks.